things in this world that I have an irrational fear of. Dolls and clowns. Like, maybe I've just seen too many horror movies, but honestly, when was the last time you saw a doll that didn't give off bad vibes? Welcome back, most amazing crew. I am your host Kennedy, and speaking of creepy dolls, today we're taking a look at some of the worst there are. That's right, today we're counting down the top 10 cursed dolls you should never Google. Let's get into it. Starting us off at number 10 is Lily. One day, a group of paranormal researchers received a doll with a note attached to her saying, quote, "I found her outside my door one morning with a note that said to not put her in front of mirrors or in the same room I sleep in. I gave her a flashlight so she could drain the batteries, but instead she made my lights flicker at night. My cat would not go near her and my dog would just stare. At times I would be woken up from a dead sleep smelling burnt toast or sometimes a sweet, fruity smell. Her favorite color is red. That is all I know." The researchers were very intrigued by the doll, and it didn't take long before Lily began acting strange around them too. And they knew that something was deeply wrong. But unlike what any sane person might do, like, I don't know, get rid of the evil and creepy doll, they decided to mass produce it using the original as a template. That's right, if you so choose, you can have your very own Lily doll delivered right to your door. I mean, I can't. According to the researchers, she is meant to ward off evil, so at least they had good intentions, or so they say. To me, it just feels like you're taunting the evil spirits to come your way, and I will not be partaking in any kind of hangout with this doll. Next up at number 9 is a doll's house. One of the last things I would ever want to live in my house would be a haunted evil doll. But apparently not everyone has the same dreams. In fact, for the Watkins family, one wasn't enough. Instead, they have opted for a whole horde of possessed dolls to share their home with. The couple are both paranormal investigators and have been collecting cursed dolls for years. In their collection is Crystal, True, Monica, Charla, Isaac, Lily, Ashley, and Cameron, all of which were individually bought and all of which were advertised as being haunted. The community of dolls resides in their home in Pennsylvania, and up until 2015, the investigators actually set up a 24-hour live stream so that all of the internet could sit back and watch their cursed magic happen. Over the years, many claim to have witnessed more than one unsettling sight, but most notably was the 2009 sighting of a ghostly apparition of what appeared to be a boy. Okay, so maybe it's not the scariest of the bunch, but it is still a room full of possessed dolls, so it's a no for me. Coming in at number 8 is Emilia. Maybe one of the oldest haunted dolls still in existence, Emilia has been giving people nightmares for over 100 years. Back in the 1800s, she was gifted to the King of Italy, and from what I've been able to find, she wasn't yet haunted when under possession of the king. When the king died, he passed on the doll to one of his closest and dearest friends, Ulvado Bellina, who tragically, however, was assassinated, and so the doll passed down to his daughter, Marie. But still, the doll remained as sweet and unhaunted as ever. That was, of course, until the World Wars. Although she managed to get through World War I relatively unscathed, as the story goes, in World War II, there was a huge explosion and a woman dove into the chaos to try and save the doll for young Marie. Sadly, the woman trying to help lost her life, and to this day it's believed that her soul is the one that haunts the doll. Now missing both arms and a good portion of her scalp, it's said Emilia routinely opens and closes her eyes and is often heard crying out for her mother at night. What makes the last bit extra creepy is that the original voice box of the doll no longer works. In fact, it hasn't worked for years. But still, every night, her cries ring loud and clear for all to hear. Next up at number 7 is Amanda. Unlike many of the others on this list, Amanda is a bisque doll. What that means is that she's made of unglazed porcelain, and while in her time she may have been used as a toy, ultimately they have turned into collector's items for the affluent. Truthfully, Amanda's specific origin story is unknown. However, we do know that she first came into the limelight after being purchased off of good old eBay. The original purchaser of the evil doll didn't last long, as they said she brought bad luck into their lives. They sold it once more, and the next owner complained of the same issue. All in all, she has been sold and purchased 10 times, never lasting long in any of the homes she finds herself in. On top of bad luck, owners have complained that she moves around all on her own, often being found in places where there was no explanation for her being there. Creepiest of all comes from her current owner, who, despite knowing the rumors surrounding the doll, decided to go ahead and bring her into into their home. At least they had the knowledge to store her inside a glass case. Except now, every night when it's dark and quiet, Amanda can be heard trying to scratch her way out of the glass. Where does she want to go exactly? Well, they have no idea, but let's just hope they don't open up that case to find out. Coming in at number 6 is Mandy. Back in 1991, the Quesnel District Museum received an anonymous donation in the form of a doll, which, I mean, from what I have learned, is never a good start. The donor informed them that she could no longer handle living with the doll due to her constant crying and relentless ability to move objects or even make them disappear, and that essentially she was just way too creeped out and starting to fear that her life was in danger. Allegedly, the museum contacted a psychic to see if the information they got from the donor was true, and as it turns out, it was. The psychic advised the museum to get rid of the doll, not to keep it, but they went against their advice and included it in their exhibit anyways. Soon, Mandy began haunting the halls of the museum. Visitors claimed to hear disembodied footsteps, the sound of tapping glass, and some even swear they witnessed her face change and her eyes blink. Even creepier is that when the museum decided to place Mandy alongside other dolls in the same case, the next day all the other dolls were either damaged or found tossed onto the floor in front of the case. They let her be alone after that. Just beware if you do decide to visit her, as allegedly anytime someone has tried to photograph her, their camera breaks. Coming in at number 5 is an island of dolls. One doll is enough to creep me out, but did you know that there is actually an island of dolls? Oh yes, you heard that right. It's quite literally the thing of nightmares. Located in Mexico, this island has a reputation for being one of the most haunted places in the world. And while that description often gets thrown around, to be honest, I kinda believe it with this one. I mean, it's an island of dolls. It makes perfect sense to me. Legend has it that a young girl died from drowning here, and when a man named Julian Barrera moved to the island, he found he was being tormented by the girl's restless spirit. In an attempt to please her, he began hanging dolls across the island. But it seems the dolls weren't enough to please the spirit, as she managed to rope Julian into convincing his nephew that she needed a friend to join her in the afterlife. The poor nephew's body was found in a nearby canal at the very same spot where the girl had died years prior. It's said that all the dolls that remain are alive, likely haunted by the spirits of the ones who lost their lives here. Some say that their eyes move and watch them as they walk across it, but even creepier is the claim that it's not just their eyes but also their hands that move. Plus, apparently the dolls are known to laugh and whisper behind your back as you walk past. To summarize, this will not be my next tourist destination. Coming in at number 4 is Mercy. So maybe it's just me, but the fact that Mercy is one of the cuter haunted dolls I have ever seen almost makes me more afraid of her. Kind of like a cute tiny little creature that lowers your guard with its giant beanie baby eyes so that you get close enough for it to kill you with its lethal venom. Anyways, the story with Mercy is that the current owner purchased Mercy off of eBay, and as we know, that almost never goes well. When she was buying her, it was said Mercy was haunted by the spirit of a young girl, but according to the owner, that couldn't be further from the truth. Don't get it twisted, the doll's for sure haunted, but the owner is certain it's something much worse, something evil, maybe even demonic. As soon as Mercy was brought into her home, weird things started happening. The owner felt immediately uneasy around the doll and knew that something bad was living inside of it. Then, just a few days later, she noticed that radio stations began changing if Mercy was near them. But creepiest of all was when she caught the doll standing on both feet in the middle of the room after she had been stored away in a chest. I mean, can you imagine walking in on that? I honestly might move. I know that sounds dramatic, but that house belongs to the demon inside the doll now. I may as well just get out alive while I still can. Coming in at number 3 is Harold. Haunted dolls are a pretty huge thing on the internet, I have come to understand. Personally, I have a hard time understanding why you would want to bring a possessed doll into your home, but hey, to each their own, right? Apparently the whole sensation of it all started back in 2003 with a haunted doll named Harold. Now, what's weird about this one is that allegedly after the new owner, Anthony, acquired the doll, the lister on eBay came forward admitting that it was all a hoax and that Harold wasn't actually haunted. But Anthony would beg to differ. Apparently, as soon as the doll arrived, strange things began happening. There were swarms of flies surrounding his attic, objects moving all around, and his dog dog even died, completely out of the blue. He even asked his vet. There were no answers, no illnesses, no physical abnormalities, nothing. The dog just dropped dead. That's when Anthony really got frightened. Eventually, he has come to believe that there are 5 different entities living inside of Harold, one of which seems to be the malevolent leader, while the others are being held hostage by the more powerful evil force. Anthony claims he is constantly worried for his life, but the doll continues to live with him as he is unable to make it leave, and he feels it is his duty to figure out how to get the entities out of Harold once and for all. And seriously, save yourself and don't Google him. People that have reported feeling ill or even vomiting up blood after seeing his photo. In that breath, I really hope that doesn't happen to me. Coming in at number 2, Ledda. So there are regular creepy porcelain or rag dolls, and then there are marionette dolls, which to me just add a whole other level of terrifying. And the most famous of these is the truly haunting Ledda. Her owner Carrie says in his hometown there was an abandoned house that everyone believed was haunted. When he got older, he decided to visit his hometown and check it out for himself if the old house really was scary after all. When he got inside, he found his old historic marionette doll that had been hidden underneath some floorboards, and intrigued, Carrie decided to plop her into the car and take her home. On the drive home, he says the doll spoke to him crying out, "Ledda me out," which he decided would be the perfect name, and so Ledda was born. Once he brought her home, the people in his life warned him that they felt very uncomfortable around the doll and that they didn't trust it. But still, he decided to keep her. To this day, he still has her. He has even gone on to TV shows with the doll for interviews. Still, make no mistake, this doll is scary. Carrie himself admits things got strange very soon after he brought her home. Scuff marks were appearing on the floor, items were moving, and his little ones would complain about her being in their nightmares. In fact, one night they said they woke up to Ledda talking and moving around all on her own. At one point, Carrie tried to sell the cursed doll, but as he tells it, he physically could not move her out of the car. So, moral of the story, maybe don't bring home a creepy doll you found under the floor in an old abandoned haunted house from your childhood. Yeah, do we all agree there? And last up in our number 1 spot today, the Suzy doll. As the story goes, in 1983, Suzy was given to a young girl named Heather Platt as a birthday present from her aunt Robin. The creepy doll was rough around the edges as she was homemade, but still Heather loved it. But that night, things took a dark turn when Heather's parents were woken up by the sound of growling and saw a dark shadow walk down the street and enter their home. From that day forward, the doll was never the same. Suzy began moving things around the house and was often found in completely different spots than where she had last been placed. Things got creepier when they would find Heather sitting with Suzy watching TV static in what appeared to be a trance. Next thing they knew, things turned violent as the family would wake up with perfect circles of their hair missing at the back, and medical tests proved that it had been pulled out. But of course, none of them had done anything. Suzy began moving freely at a more frequent and alarming rate, never moving while she was being watched, but could change rooms at a moment's notice. Fast enough that by the time you turned around, she could literally be right in front of you. Then after the father was attacked in the middle of the night by the demonic doll, they knew they had to get an expert. In came Lorraine Warren, who took one look at this whole situation and told them to seek out an exorcist immediately. Thankfully, the ritual was complete and the family decided to throw away the doll for good, and according to what I read, the family has never let another doll in their house ever again. Well, there you have it, guys. I hope you liked this video. If you did, make sure to hit that subscribe button and I'll catch you next time.